It's time for Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccr.com. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Todd's Electric, James Pharmacy, Lamb Motors, Avera, Hawaii Federal Credit Union, and Edward Jones Financial. Coach's Corner is also brought to you by Graham Tire, Kruger Contracting, CHS River Plains, Gales Gas, Bank West, and Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota. From the KCCR studios in Pierre, KCCR award-winning sports director, John Winkler.
And we welcome you inside the KCCR studios, another Wednesday night, another edition of Coach's Corner, as we'll talk some hockey with Steve Steele of the Hawaii Capitals. We'll also talk with Brandon Kusler of the Pierre boys basketball team as they started practice on Monday. We'll talk with Matt Thorson, the Pierre girls wrestling coach, as they get set for their first competition Friday and Saturday in the tournament up in Bismarck. And then we'll also finish the program talking with Rebecca Feller, the head coach of the Pierre Governor gymnastics team, as their first competition is tomorrow night in Huron. So it's a fun show. Winter sports is upon us with competitions beginning this week into this weekend, along with games next week. And, of course, we're talking with Steve Steele, the head coach of the Capitals, with their games starting last Saturday and playing again this weekend. That's all on the way here for tonight's edition of Coach's Corner. We'll come back and talk with Coach Steele next here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention, it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 30 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. That number again is 223-2518. Todd's Electric Service, serving the Pierre-Fort Pierre area. Todd's Electric Service, the line to power.
Why am I so sore?
There are everyday moments.
Hey, hold the ladder! Hold the ladder!
Yeah, that hurt.
And there are epic moments.
Slide!
College! Class of 1995!
When a moment creates a health need, visit the experts at Avera Orthopedics. We're moving health forward so you can tell the story. Learn more at avera.org/orthopedics.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined, so y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to. I'm going to answer with the same answer, so y'all can shoot if y'all please.
This is Coach's Corner on your home for the Pierre Governors, KCCR, and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Steve Steele here of the Hawaii Capitals as you guys get set to take on the Huron All-Stars coming up on Saturday. We'll go back and revisit last Saturday's game. Obviously, not the outcome that you were hoping to have, but what you now, days later, and even when you started to look at film and kind of go back and look at the game, what was the biggest takeaway from that game?
I think we had a lot of really good offensive momentum in a lot of ways. I think we did do a lot of good things. We controlled the pace of play for quite a bit of the game, but I think that the biggest takeaway is that we can't take our foot off the gas. I think that was the big functional difference as the game went on. We got to stay out of the penalty box. That's another one. I think if we can handle those two, certainly we can be better at pretty much everything, with it being the first game of the season. But, those two things, had some defensive responsibilities that we kind of lost on a little bit. But, I think a lot of good things too. So, we've just got to figure those changes and challenges out and continue to build on our strengths.
I think one of the things that obviously you don't want that to happen. You never want to lose to begin with, but in a game that's the beginning of the season, that kind of helps that it's at the beginning of the season than at the end of the season, where you're going to go into a state tournament after a loss like that you have the whole season to kind of, and even just the week to get yourself back in the right mindset going, and early on in the year to have have something like that might be a little bit better of a scenario if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's what we said in the locker room. It's a long season. I mean, it's still November, and ultimately we're not done till March. So I mean, it's a long time coming yet. And we got a long ways before we really need to be playing our best hockey. So I mean, yeah, certainly you'd much rather finish playing your best than start playing your best. I think everybody's kind of in that good mindset. Obviously, it's disappointing, but at the same point, we move forward and realize again we still got 21 more games to go.
Well, you get another 1-game weekend on the road against the Huron All-Stars before then you have a 3-game weekend the following weekend, thankfully all at home. But it's a chance to take on a team that has struggled over the last couple of years, specifically with numbers, but also just trying to get wins and goals. That this is a perfect team to not take your foot off the gas and to get the confidence really going in a game like this.
Yeah, and it'll be an important one to do that. Obviously with the 3-game weekend coming up afterwards, and a very important 3-game weekend. So it's going to be important for our guys to stay focused, stay sharp, and really try and get better at all the things that we've preached all week in practice.
And how has practice gone over this first? Now that you're into full game mode and having the week of practice and then the weekend of games, how has the first couple of days of practice been this week?
It's been good. We're working a lot of skill development and just trying to get everybody on the same page, working quick, thinking quick in small spaces, doing all those different things. It's a lot more drill work now. I think as the season goes on, you kind of release that, you kind of interchange, individual game plans and stuff like that as you get down later in the week and also later in the season. So, I think the guys are doing a good job just keeping the tempo high, keeping the energy up in practice, and then, continuing to just find ways to get better day in and day out.
Well, to go back to that Saturday game real quick, too, that a couple of goal scorers, obviously Jaron Beck and Devin Dotson scored quite a few goals. Beck being the second highest goal scorer of the team last year. Kind of expect him to score quite a few goals. He had 2 on Saturday. Devin Dotson had 10-plus goals last year. Kind of expect that. Also had 2 goals on Saturday. But Luke Miller is able to step in that first line when you're trying to regather everybody in the right spot after a penalty kill, that he scores a goal. And you talked about the depth of scoring and the depth of this team. That shows you already in Game 1 how deep this team can be when at full strength.
Yeah, and I think that's the exciting part, about this team this year is that, again, we are so deep. We've got a lot of guys that can play in a lot of places. The challenging part is just going to be to get the correct guys in the correct places each and every week and each and every night. So, it was awesome to see Luke come in ready to go and go out, and he was +2. He had really 2 shifts until later in the game, and he had a goal and was out there for another goal. So, I mean, that's the kind of value you hope to add. And, again, that's one of those ones that can always lead to more ice time too. So, it's a fun thing to see. But at the same point in time, we've got to figure out, this puzzle of this team and find a way to put it together into the best picture it can be.
Is it good to have a 1-game weekend and then followed by another 1-game weekend, or would it have been nice to kind of gradually build up and have a 1-game weekend, 2-game weekend, then getting that 3-game weekend next weekend? Obviously, you can't change it, but is it better to have just 2 weekends with 1 game, or would you like to see maybe a 2-game weekend to get you, one step further into a 3-game weekend?
Yeah, I think a 2-game weekend. I think the 1-game weekends. I mean, again, it's obviously irrelevant to some point, but ideally those 1-game weekends are kind of middle late in the season where you're trying to rest a little. Where you don't really need a ton of rest in the beginning of the season. You'd rather have a couple 2 or 3 game weekends and then back off to a 1-game weekend than vice versa. So, but it is what it is. It's a schedule that we got, and we've got to do the best we can with it. So we'll go out and hopefully take care of business on Saturday and then get ready for the grind of next weekend.
Talking with Steve Steele here of the White Capitals, as we'll kind of shift gears a little bit. A up and down weekend for you as sports fan wise. Thanksgiving, you kind of felt good about the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day, and you don't usually feel so good about the Lions over the last couple of years, but things didn't work out for you. And then on Saturday, you get the Michigan win, and obviously Lincoln Keenel's now playing for Ohio State, so it makes the Michigan win even better for you because you don't have to worry about rooting against one of your former players. So a little bit up and down for you on the college and national level of sports.
Yeah, I'll say the Michigan-Ohio State game was about as conflicted as I've ever been watching a football game, that I'm not obviously coaching, playing, or, have a super vested interest in terms of anything. But, it's very hard. I guess this is just the easiest way to say. You grew up a Michigan fan. You're excited for that, but at the same point, you still want what's best for Lincoln. You want what's best for our boy, and so I 100% know when he's on the field there will be no conflict. It'll be all go Bucks, as crazy as that is to say for me. But and I said it's still. It would have been just okay with me too if Ohio State would have ended up winning the game. It was a great football game, so first and foremost, I guess that was the most exciting part, is that it was a great game. And then in terms of the Lions, I guess we're no harm, no foul. They lost on a week the Vikings lost, so there's no ground gained, and magic number goes to 4.
Is it nice to see that the Lions are fighting for a division title? Because it's been a long time coming for the Lions to actually win a division title. It's
refreshing to see the magic number on that end,
right?
As opposed to the magic number of games that they're eliminated. That's usually the one that we see.
Yeah.
Is the magic number and then they're eliminated. Where now it's magic number is 4 and they win the division. I mean it's a refreshing topic to see, and there's enough games left where 4 should be pretty likely to happen, I think.
Well, and the good and the bad is that that can go down really quick because the Vikings and Lions still play twice.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of it is that with the loss this coming Sunday, then all of a sudden the Vikings are right back in the thick of things, and there's a lot at stake over the next couple of weeks for the NFC North. And I guess the one thing is that both the Vikings and Lions fans can agree on that the Packers are still back there and not trying to fight for the division.
Yeah, I think that they're still in the hunt technically for the wild card, the Packers and the Vikings. But yeah, I think in terms of the division, I think it's really the line. There's no way they should be able to blow this. If you can't hear that on the radio, I'm knocking on some wood. But yeah, there's really no way. Realistically speaking, they need to find a way to win 3 games, and if one of those is the Vikings, they got it.
When was the last time the Lions were in the playoffs?
I was in college, so 2011 maybe.
Was that when they played the Cowboys?
That was when they, yes.
Yeah, that was
when the referees decided the Cowboys were advancing, yes.
Well, then the next week the referees decided the Packers were going to advance too. So, we're
that
both,
was the script for the year from the NFL.
That's right. but a chance to 12 years later, get a chance to feeling pretty good that you're going to be watching the Lions in January, and hopefully it falls at a time when the Hawaii Capitals are not playing. So obviously you're not going to be sitting there with the phone in your hand trying to watch a game while on the bench. But it will work out perfect for Coach Steele to have the Lions in January, the Capitals playing at different times.
Yeah, it'll be good. Hopefully we have to see if we can adjust some game times if anything needs to happen. But no, it'll be really neat just to be able to see them play. And again, assuming they hold on to the division, I do not know the answer to the last time they had a home playoff game. So I honestly couldn't tell you. I know that 2011 was not a home playoff game. That was in Dallas. So I said that would be an exciting thing just to see the excitement. Because again, there's a lot of excitement, back there for, that they're doing well. The Red Wings are doing well. So there's just a lot of energy around Detroit sports right now.
The Red Wings signed Patrick Kane, who it's a low risk, high reward type of signing because it's not a whole lot of money to Patrick Kane, but obviously what he's been able to do in the past, if he can recover from the hip surgery well enough that it can be a high reward to what the Red Wings want to have, especially, it's not a long-term solution for the Red Wings, and not that they need a solution right now, but it's, again, low risk, high reward. If it doesn't work out, no, he's gone after the end of the year. And if it does work out, maybe he enjoys playing with the Red Wings and signs another contract before his career is done, and helps try and get the Red Wings back to where they were back in the 90s. And it's not a bad spot.
Yeah, well, and quite honestly, if it doesn't work out quickly, not to say that teams haven't just said, oh, they're injured and put him on long-term injured reserve right away, and then his cap doesn't even count. So, realistically, the whole thing could be wiped away if he comes back and it's not working with his hip. And if it does come back, you look brilliant. When he played with DeBrincat in Chicago, they were quite the pair there. So, you're hoping you can get some of that. And, I think they're in a real spot to push for the playoffs this year. And anything can happen when you get there. We've seen that plenty of times. But it'd be really, again, just as cool as it with the Lions, it'd be very cool to see the Red Wings push back for a playoff spot too.
Again, talking with Coach Steve Steele here of the Hawaii Capitals. They will play on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock in Huron as they will be looking for that first win, and then they'll have the 3-game weekend following this weekend coming up in that first full week of December into that weekend as well. But before we wrap things up, obviously, get back to hockey real quick in the Hawaii Capitals. What's going to be the biggest reason here for the Caps to get a win on Saturday against the Huron All-Stars?
I think we need a full game of just focus and execution. I think this last game, I think we took our foot off the gas a little bit too much, and we kind of lost our focus for a variety of reasons. And, we've just got to make sure that we stay locked in the whole game and, continue to push forward.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time as always. Good luck on Saturday, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, John.
That is head coach Steve Steele of the Hawaii Capitals. We'll return with more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota is serving the central South Dakota community and beyond with a great selection of used vehicles. Local trades and program vehicles are available. New Toyotas and new Fords are arriving and selling before they even hit the lot. So don't wait. Stop in and find out what's coming. If you've been thinking about ordering a new Ford, stop in and sit down with one of our sales specialists today. Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota at 518 East Sioux Avenue in Pierre. Call 605-224-7378 and visit CapitalCityFordToyota.com.
It takes hard work to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than just sports. It also goes for your financial goals. You work hard for your money. You deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. Your local Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If your investments aren't getting you closer to the win, visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Pierre area Edward Jones office for a financial review. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now I'm playing for real.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. What play should I call now? Maybe corner three.
He's hot. He is hot. Keep feeding that guy.
Now back to Coach's Corner with KCCR award-winning sports director John Winkler.
As we welcome you back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Brandon Kusser. Getting set to start the season, already into 2 days worth of practice, 3 days of practice going in. It's got to be exciting to get the basketball season underway. I know that you probably, once basketball season was over last year, you're probably starting to already count down the days to the next year's basketball practice starting. So how much fun has it been over the couple of days to get practice going?
While it's great to watch these kids do what they do on the football field, on the soccer field, cross country, whatever it might be, in their other sports, baseball all summer, certainly was exciting to get back into the gym, and it was very fitting that we started our morning practice with a quarter of an inch of snow on the ground. Now it's beautiful out, but I thought it was pretty ironic that it's just welcome to basketball. Winter is here. So, it was the energy in our gym and the excitement of basketball, it's starting to come back. So we're really excited about that.
And you're going to see some familiar faces, but not too many familiar faces from last year's varsity team, which, going in the first couple of practice, obviously there's probably a lot of openings and a lot of opportunities for a lot of these young guys to come in, and maybe some of them they're older guys but will be newer faces to the varsity ranks. That's got to be a little exciting too, that there's so many competitions for spots to begin the season.
Right. When you graduate 8 seniors like we did, who all contributed in various ways, and from one year to the next, my first year taking over, going into the next season, we lost 1 senior. So it's not that those spots were just guaranteed by any means, but it kind of transitioned a little bit different. We have 5 new starters this year, and while we still return some kids that came off of the bench, it still elevates that competitiveness in the gym. And while no spots were guaranteed last year, you really see that this year, where kids are coming in and they're competing hard. Our seniors are doing an awesome job of leading things, because really when you lose that chunk of kids, you're not only losing experience in games, you're losing that experience and that expectation in practice as well. So I'm really proud of the seniors that we have right now, and their leadership and bringing along some of these younger kids who are brand new to some of these JV varsity practices. practices, and while you try to mimic what that level is when your freshman sophomore practice, nothing compares to it until you are tossed in the ring in JV varsity here.
Well, a couple guys that returned from last year with experience, Kate Kaiser and Luke Olson, got playing time last year varsity-wise, and those are probably two guys that you lean on to begin the season with practice, and probably ones that hey, you guys know exactly what it takes. Maybe the other guys do too, but those are two that you know what varsity experience is like, and we need you to kind of help these guys and really be leaders, whether you want to be leaders or not. Obviously, one being a quarterback in the football team, it's probably easy to challenge him to be a leader.
Certainly, and that's just something, it's pretty natural for a lot of these kids right now to step into those roles. And I really feel like we have an awesome balance of leadership. Leadership can come across in a lot of different ways. We've got a couple kids who are big vocal leaders. We have some kids that lead by example, and we have some kids that are kind of maybe more reserved, but they know when and where they need to step into that vocal role. And I think that balance is important, where it's not just coming from one kid, especially when we're bringing along a lot of younger kids and we're expecting them to catch on quick. It's easier coming sometimes from their peers than it is from a coach. And really, from a coaching standpoint, I couldn't ask for more from them right now, because they're doing an awesome job of making sure that they are bringing them up, but they're elevating their level of competitiveness as well. They're helping them out, but they know when it's time to buckle down and get things done.
One guy returns that didn't play last year, Jet Zabel. The toughness that he can bring, that will be a huge addition, especially, as you mentioned, graduating 8 guys last year. It's a nice addition. Obviously, you would have loved to have him last year too, but getting him back and trying to get him back in the swing of things, because it's going to be a process for him as well. But how do you like having a Zabel and a toughness with the Zabel to come back to this team?
He never shies away from any sort of challenge, and that's something that makes Jet really special. He really is up for anything, and he wants, regardless of what his role is on the court, he wants what's best for everybody around him. He's a tough-nosed kid, and there's something about the Zabels that they just they find a way. It might not always be the prettiest thing, but Jet is unique in that way, and he does find a way, and he's just going to elevate any sort of drill that we have, and he's going to bring his teammates up and find ways to get them to their next level while getting himself there as well.
I know it's an unfair question to ask you, but you're a couple of practices in. Some of the guys, anybody that kind of stands out right away, or a group of guys that kind of stand out right away to say, hey, this maybe expecting it, but to see some of the improvements from last year, from the off season going into or from the last year going into this year through the off season.
We've got a really solid nucleus of kids right now that that core group is going to be leaned on for a lot of different things. And, we talked about Kate Kaiser and Luke Olson and Jet Zabel and stuff, but then you add in Tyan Buss, who has considerable experience at the varsity level in Sturgis up until this year. That's something that we're really fortunate to bring in, because you can't teach experience. You can't expedite the process of experience either. And you can really tell his awareness on the floor is something that we're really excited about. He's got the ability to extend his range and score in a lot of different ways, and then just find kids as well. And then to complement him, you've got Miles Doyle, who will be another senior for us, and Miles is a calm, cool, and collected guy, and we talk about that balance where you've got some aggression in Cade Kaiser and Jet Zabel, and where Miles is kind of more of that just lead by example, and he's going to do whatever you need him to do, and he'll complement them really well by being able to extend that range. Then Dawson is a freakishly long kid. He gets touches on balls that you don't think anybody's even in the vicinity of. But because of that length, and really has bought into what we've needed him to do this offseason. He's a really hard worker. He's put in a lot of time on his own here to develop his finishing game and his 1 dribble, 2 dribble bounce to finishes and stuff as well. He's a really solid perimeter shooter, and we knew that, but we needed him to gain some experience in attacking to the rim and finishing strong through contact, using his length really well, and he really has bought into that. And then we're going to have some other kids, and we got a really young kid in Cooper Terwilliger, who he doesn't play as young as he is. He's really strong. You saw that on the football field. He really grew up fast, and we'll be asking him and some other kids to do that this season, and really kind of complement some of our returners and our veterans, you would say, even though we don't have a ton of them. I feel like we've got a really good balance right now.
Now, this conversation doesn't make you feel like you're ready for that first game yet. Are you almost ready? Like, hey, let's start playing some games. Or are you still like, no? I'm very much a practice coach. I want to have as many practices as we possibly can before that first game.
Practice. We kind of last night or on Monday night, I went home and had a little bit of a reality check and reminded myself that we're not rebuilding here, we're reloading, and that's something that we really are emphasizing with the guys, that our standards remain the same regardless of how many kids we lost last year to graduation. But with that being said, when I talk about it not being able to expedite experience, the same thing applies in practice. And last year, about 90% of our kids who were coming into the JV varsity gym were in that gym the year previous. So we didn't have necessarily that transition phase that we're maybe seeing right now, where it's going to take a little bit of time to demonstrate some of the drills that we use regularly and just go through what our expectations are, whereas last year we maybe felt like we were getting into more offensive and defensive concepts. Right now it's more principle based, and it's good for everybody though, and good for us coaches as well to kind of take a step back, and we're going to be just fine when we get there, but it might just take a little bit more early on than maybe what we've seen the last couple of years.
So you're not saying you need another week before that first game. The right amount of practice will come, the day before that first game. That's the right. No more, no less. That's going to be a perfect amount.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll be excited to hit that floor. I know the boys they'll be sick of 2-a-days. They'll be tired of just practicing against each other. So they'll be ready to go right when they need to be. It's just revamping, our direction. The end goal is the same. It's just rerouting things a little bit, given the kids that we have in our gym right now, and getting them to the level that we want them to be at, where everybody is the same.
And we spent the talk about the guys that graduated and talk about these new guys or old guys and new guys coming in. But last year's team got to the state tournament, got to the 5th place finish. How important was that for this year to have that experience, whether they're on the bench or not for these guys, whether they're on the bench there or not, to have that experience and have that, as you mentioned too, the expectation is going to be to get to the state tournament again, and the expectation is always going to be there. But to have that last year, how important was that to set up this year?
There's something about a state tournament and that experience that unless you have experienced it, there's really no words to, and there's no way to prepare kids for it. So it was a very positive thing, and they really set the standard for us, and that expectation of getting back to that state tournament and making some noise in the tournament each year, because that's what we want Governor basketball to be, that identity of we're competing at a really high level. We want to be hosting SODAC 16 games. You saw that last year, the energy and excitement this community brings, and that's something really unique to Pierre and special that we feel fortunate to be able to be a part of. But that's a standard that we have set, and anything less than that, we're not failing, but we want to be looking to achieve that each year in and year out.
So here, kind of wrap things up. obviously you're not quite there for that first game, and I don't want to say, what's going to take to win the first game, but what's it going to take here to get you guys where you want to be by the time that first game rolls around? What's one of the biggest keys over this week and the next week in practice?
We're back at it again with defense and rebounding are going to win a lot of games for us, and that's something that regardless of the year, that's an identity of Governor basketball, where we're taking pride in that defensive side of things, and we're really showing up on that end and using that to propel our offense in transition. We're looking forward to playing pretty fast this year, but still playing within ourselves and not trying to do too much, but using our speed and athleticism to be able to get us some easy buckets in transition, and then rebounding on both ends of the floor is going to be crucial for us. Clearing the glass on one-shot opportunities or getting good touches, deflections, where we can go offensively, and then giving ourselves second chance opportunities and taking advantage of that second, third chance and them being out of rotation defensively.
Well, Coach, it's good talking basketball again. I appreciate the time. Looking forward to the start of the season. Good luck the rest of the week in practice. I know you're going to enjoy it, and good luck going in that first week of the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But we'll have more of Coach's Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
No more
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose BankWest. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. BankWest. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
Score big on your next vehicle purchase with Lamb Motor Company in Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre. Check out their large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs at any one of their locations, or go online to lambmotor.com. That's LAMBMOTOR.com. Or give them a call today at 800-952-2222. Lamb Motor Company of Oneida and Gettysburg, Lamb Chevrolet and Implement in Oneida, and Lamb Auto Sales in Pierre.
At Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
That's a clown question, bro.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
As we welcome you back to the Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Matt Thorson of the Pierre girls wrestling team as you get set for the first weekend of competition. Going to be out in Bismarck. The boys are in Mandan, girls are in Bismarck, so 20-minute drive in between. Pretty much 20-minute drive between locations. But how has practice been so far? How has the first couple of weeks getting ready? Obviously, you had wrestle-offs last Tuesday, but how have things been going to get yourself ready for the season?
Yeah, I think the girls took another step up from the year prior. Our upperclassmen and even our younger sophomore, freshmen, things like that, they really put in a lot of work this offseason and put a lot of time on the mat, and that's really showing right away. So practice has been going really well. Ton of young girls and new girls, so that's good to have fresh blood out there and kind of teach them the ropes. And we have a lot of upperclassmen that can help out with that as well. So it's been a lot of fun to see the girls work together from seniors down to sixth graders.
Well, you mentioned that they're looking good and looking and progress has been made over the summer, and a lot of times, when teams win a state championship, I know the girls have won back-to-back and would have won a third one if they were keeping a team scored in the first 3 years. But the target's on the back of the Governors, and to have the progress being made, you can tell how serious they're taking that. They want the target to stay on their back for another year because they want to win another state championship.
Yeah, and we graduated a couple last year for the first time. We haven't had any seniors before last year, and definitely missed them. But you can see that the seniors now are stepping up. They're they're filtering right into that leadership role, as well as, some of the sophomores and juniors and things like that. So yeah, we know the target's on our back, and that doesn't really seem to faze us too much, because at the end of the day, you have to step out there and do what you got to do to win. And these girls are competitive. They want to win. They're feisty in the wrestling room, and they want to work hard to keep that target on the back of the Pierre girls.
Well, you mentioned too the first year that you're returning girls that with graduating seniors. Obviously, you're no secret to that, or no stranger to it with being a football defensive coordinator and being a football coach for the last couple of years. That you see seniors graduate, but for this girls wrestling program to see that for the first time was a little odd to walk in the wrestling room Monday morning, that first practice, and say, wait a second, there's about 3 or 4 girls here that should still be here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you see it in football at times, so you're used to it. But for the last 3 years, we've had the same group of girls there every single year that first day of practice. So when you're missing those 3 or 4 girls that have been there from the beginning, it is different. And I think that it took the girls that are there right now, it took them a little bit of an adjustment, thinking, they're not going to be the ones to get us going. We have to do it. We're the seniors now. So they've adjusted well. But there was that initial shock of where's Gianna? Where's Hattie? Where's Marley? Where are those 3 girls? And but those girls did a great job of kind of finding the way for us and kind of setting the standard for Pierre wrestling, and that will never be forgotten, like we talked about last year quite a bit. And it's time for these upperclassmen to leave their legacy.
Talking with Matt Thorson here of the Pierre girls wrestling team. I mentioned wrestle-offs last Tuesday. What'd you like about what you saw? Any surprises that you saw from that wrestle-offs that maybe you weren't really expecting? Maybe there's a couple saying, I'm looking forward to this match here between these 2 girls. Anything that kind of stood out from those wrestle-offs that maybe you weren't expecting?
Yeah, well, this year, and we had talked prior to this, but there's a couple more weight classes, which is really awesome because it allows for more girls to have varsity spots and to help grow the sport. So we don't really have as many varsity wrestle-offs for varsity positions this year, which is fine, because we are deep in different areas as far as middle school goes and younger girls. So we were just finding good matchups for the wrestle-offs. We were wrestling, Abby and Ireland and Kesri and Lexi, great wrestlers that weren't competing for a varsity spot, but were just going out there and wrestling tough wrestlers. So it was good to see them compete like that. I think they would all admit that, they were a little nervous to wrestle in front of the crowd. They always are that first time of the year. But you saw a lot of competition. You saw a lot of feistiness and girls that were just kind of excited to be back on the mat. A lot of rust still that we have to shake off, and they're well aware of that too. But it's a long season, and it's important to definitely not be at your best right now.
Well, and to that point too, you had a couple of girls that went to the state championship last year, didn't get the job done in the state championship, still took second place, which is a great honor. But what have you seen from those girls that when it comes to the girls that didn't win the state championship in that state championship match? Have you seen a little bit extra fire from them to open up the season?
Yeah, and really it helps set their expectation for themselves a little bit too. Whereas maybe prior to last year, they didn't see themselves as state champion caliber wrestlers. And now that they saw that they got a taste of that success, they hold themselves like that. So they're not going to let themselves fall below that standard. For example, Sydney Urag, who came up short last year, and she's, again at 107 now is what it is this year. But she's definitely has that on her mind, and that's a strong goal of hers, is to finish her senior year on top. So a lot of these girls who got a taste of that success last year they're roaring and ready to go.
You mentioned too more classes this year, an extra 2 classes, class weights for girls wrestling. That's obviously you mentioned it's fantastic to have that. What does it do for you trying to figure out the game plan, figure out where everybody's going to be at? Obviously, it's a little bit of a challenge to get everything up and going, but that also says a lot about girls wrestling, that you've already gone from not having a state champion to having back-to-back state championships, team state championships, which, of course, the Pierre Governors had, and now you're adding more weight classes. This is exponentially growing in less than 5 years.
Yeah, and not even just in Pierre. The numbers are obviously high enough for them to feel comfortable adding 2 more weight classes. I think it's awesome. Just, the last couple of years we've had, state place winners sitting on the bench not able to compete varsity. So for them to add 2 more weight classes, that really has a big impact on a lot of teams, including ours. So we'll get more girls to be able to wrestle at the state tournament, which then grows more and more of the sport, just because they see that there's more opportunities every year. So yeah, it's a puzzle trying to make sure everybody, gets in there, and unfortunately it doesn't always work like that with people in the same weight class, but it'll all work itself out by the end of the year.
Well, and then growing here in Pierre too, that the middle school wrestlers, that you have over half your roster is full of middle school wrestlers, 6th and 7th graders, which again is something fantastic to have that many young girls want to come out and wrestle, because it shows what the wrestlers have been able to do to make everybody excited, other girls are excited to come out for wrestling, and it's showing that now that girls are wanting to come out and wanting to compete to wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, we have 11 or 12 6th graders alone right now, and I think what you're going to start seeing is that's going to start being the norm, where we have a couple seniors is all we have. But as you get lower and lower, the classes get bigger and bigger. And I think that's going to start being what we can expect every year, with especially in Pierre, where wrestling does have a strong tradition. And I think families who've grown up around Pierre understand that. And it's not new anymore for girls to be wrestling. That's not kind of a stigma that holds very much weight in Pierre about girls not being able to wrestle. So as that becomes more and more common, you're going to start seeing, exactly what we're starting to see here, which the middle school numbers are awesome. Like I said, we have 21 of our 35 girls on a roster are middle school. So that's over half the team, which is awesome, because that's how you build programs, is from the bottom up.
Again, talking with Matt Thorson here, the Pierre wrestling team. The girls are competing in Bismarck this weekend. The boys will be in Mandan. But let's continue to talk about the girls wrestling team and going up to Bismarck. What you kind of expect, because you're going up against wrestlers from North Dakota. I don't think there's any other there might be another South Dakota team, but otherwise you're seeing wrestlers that you probably won't ever see again for the rest of the year. How nice is that to go against pretty much unknown wrestlers the entire weekend?
Yeah, it's really nice, and the setup is kind of a round-robin pool play type thing, so the girls are going to get a lot of matches, which is important this time of year. And yeah, it's kind of nice saying like, well, you lost so-and-so, but they're from North Dakota, so it doesn't weigh too much on their minds, hopefully. It's just a good opportunity to get out there and get some matches under our belt before you do come back to Rapid City the following week and things like that. So really good to get a lot of matches, and there's a lot of good wrestlers in North Dakota too, so they definitely compete hard, and it's always a fun tournament to go to, first one of the year, and a lot of good competition.
What do you look for, whether wins or losses? What do you look for from these girls to put yourself in a good spot after the weekend?
Really just laying it out there. We don't want to go out there and be defensive or scared to lose. We want to wrestle to win, and regardless if that happens or not, walking off the mat if you wrestle to win or if you wrestle just to not lose. So we want to be out there and really just be ourselves. Don't hold back, just let it go, and we preach that to the girls all the time. It's easier said than done, but these girls have had enough experience and understand what the expectation is for Pierre wrestling, and I don't have any doubt that they'll be able to go out there and be successful.
Do you also, I kind of asked it already, but do you like the fact that you're going to North Dakota? Do you like this to be the starting point of the season?
Oh, for sure. And like I said, just because nothing really counts too much for or against you, it's getting matches. So we love going there. Like I said, they run the tournament really well. It's a lot of matches, none of which are South Dakota girls, so that helps as well. But just good to get out there, regardless of who we're wrestling. But it is nice for us to see new faces.
And for you, you go from state championship on that Friday night, winning a football state championship with the Pierre Governors, to Monday morning starting wrestling practice, or just in general Monday, whether it was really early Monday morning or maybe Monday afternoon. For you personally, how fun is it to do that? And it's probably more fun to say that you like to do that than actually do it, physically do it. But what do you most enjoy about the fact that you get basically 2 days off between seasons?
It makes it easy when you have the girls on the wrestling team to go to. It'd be one thing if they weren't fun to be around, but they are so much fun to be around, and they are, regardless of if it's 2 days or 2 weeks, whatever it is. It's something new. It's a breath of fresh air to be with these girls, and you kind of get to flip the page and start something new. So I don't know if my wife would agree with that, but it is what it is, and it's a lot of hard work for the coaches, the families, the wrestlers, but definitely worth it seeing the girls go out there and have fun and be successful.
And so now, before we wrap things up this weekend up in Bismarck, what's going to be the biggest thing for the Governors to come away in a good spot going into the next weekend?
Obviously staying healthy is a big thing early on in the year, just with us not having many matches under our belt. Staying healthy and just trying things. It's okay. This is a time of year to try things and figure out what type of wrestler are you going to be. Are you going to change your style a little bit? And like we talked about earlier, like the wins and losses right now, it don't matter. Yes, we always want to go out there to wrestle to win, but at the end of the day, it's get yourself better, and you can't get yourself better by being defensive and not trying new things. And we talked to the girls about just let it fly. What happens, and we always wrestle our best when we are loose and able to think clearly, not when we're tense and tight and nervous. So that's something that we try to really bring home to these girls is go out there, have fun, compete, and the scoreboard will take care of itself.
Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. It's good talking wrestling with you. Looking forward to talking a couple more times throughout the season. Good luck this weekend, and enjoy the safe travels up there. Enjoy maybe a little bit of some nicer weather. I don't know, maybe North Dakota's bad weather all the time now. But appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is Matt Thorson, head coach of the Pierre Girls Wrestling Team. We'll return with more coaches going after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
People helping people. Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
Let me talk to you. You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
Yeah. As we welcome back to Coach's Corner here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com. Joining me is Coach Rebecca Feller of the Pierre Governor Gymnastics team, who start the season on Thursday. So the season is fast approaching. Obviously, you guys have been practicing longer than any other winter sport. You started before some of the fall sports were even done. So getting set for this first meet, how have you liked practices through the first about 3 weeks of the season?
Practice has been going well. The girls have been doing a lot of conditioning. We've been working on a lot of routines, telling them, okay, this is how many routines that you need for the practice. The girls have been really good at getting those done. So I'm pretty hopeful for this season.
Is it nice to get the season going, get that first routine and not so much be practice anymore and get, in front of the judges and get in front of, and make it, no matter how much you want to try and maybe simulate a meet, that it's nice just to have a meet to go to?
Yeah, we did a mock meet while they had the inner squad meet, which is a requirement for the judges. But the girls were in their competition, Leo, but it is nice to get that first meet out of the way so that it's kind of more of a reality check as far as what they have skill-wise, what they need to work on in the routine, and any skills that they need to clean up.
So going into this first meet, before we actually get into the first meet, let's talk a little bit about your team, because you return. Nobody graduates from last year. Nevaeh Carver returning as a senior this year. That's a huge returner for this Pierre Governor Gymnastics team. Talk a little bit about her and what she brings as one of the seniors on the team.
Nevaeh Carver has been on the varsity for quite a while. She is an all-around gymnast, so she brings quite a bit. It's not just bringing back an event specialist. You're bringing back an individual that's an all-around, so they're going to compete all 4 events, and that's always nice to see.
Now, you have a lot that do return, others that maybe so much, right at the beginning, kind of sticking out of those returners from last year.
We've got some other individuals that were state qualifiers and competed at the state meet last February. So we have Casey Wilson, she's a junior. Ryan Shepik is another junior. Kirsten Korber, another junior. Becky Spitzer was one of our alternates. She is a sophomore. And then we have Maddie Merrill, who will be an 8th grader this year.
So a younger team last year and a little bit more of an older team. Obviously, I mentioned the 8th grader in Merrill and a sophomore as well. But the experience is really going to be key probably at the beginning of the season too.
Yeah, you can usually tell a gymnast that's been competing for a while because they're just a lot more confident. They don't make, as much as I hate to say it, the silly mistakes where, they might have made a fall on beam and they'll just, they've got enough time to kind of collect themselves. They don't just immediately hop back on the event. They'll step around and say, okay, did I get that connection? What am I missing if I just finished off my routine? So they'll just kind of stop and we might have a little chit chat for, 20 seconds and then they'll get back on the event and just be solid through the rest of the routine.
And obviously as a coach, you enjoy any beginning of the season, but when you have an older team, what's the benefit of having an experienced team, especially for some of these young girls too?
It's not as stressful as for the coach because you're not having to make sure that you've gone through the checklist of explaining everything. They kind of know what they need to do and what's expected of them, and we just kind of go from there.
Going into this first meet, you're going to Huron, and we'll talk a little bit about Saturday's meet because it's going to be here. But Thursday in Huron, what do you kind of expect from this group to get the season going? What do you want to see from them?
I just want to see some nice solid routines on floor. I want to see their connections for their jumps and leaps. 3 solid passes with no breaks. On beam, once again, no falls are always good. But a routine, maybe if it does have a fall, because it happens, not being rattled by it and get back up on that event and finish off a nice solid routine. Bars is another one, just keep the skills moving, no pauses, stops, or falls. And vault, just sticking the landing, no big steps or balance checks or anything like that. So, they've been practicing their routines here and we've put in a few incentives as far as, the mock meet and just the routines that we did yesterday.
And one of the things, too, that you talk about going to Huron tomorrow, and then on Saturday you guys get to be at home. And we'll mention something about being at home a little bit later here, too. But you kind of fly right into this beginning of the season. With Huron, you come back, you get a day off or a day of practice, and you're here at home. But that's also going to be nice to get a home routine in, get it in front of the home fans, home everything. How nice is it to be at home, to have that familiarity, especially in that second meet of the season?
It's nicer than it has been in previous years because usually we do the Huron meet. We get back late, and then the kids, go to school the next day. Then they have a short practice, hop in the bus, and we would usually go to the Sioux Falls meet, travel that night before, and then wake up early in the morning, leave the hotel by 7 o'clock. So yes, this is the home meet. We're going to still have to take down equipment and get it moved over while also having a meet this week. But they get to sleep in their own beds. They don't have to worry about that extra travel, and they get to sleep in a little bit. So that's always nice.
And the other thing, too, is when it comes to the end of the season, I know you're at the beginning of the season, but at the end of the season, the Pierre gets to host the state meet. So how nice is that? Maybe it's a little stressful for the coach of extra things you have to do, and the athletic administration going to have to do a lot more stuff. But how nice is it for these girls to have that opportunity to compete at home, sleep in their own beds before state? Because outside of doing this here, that's never going to happen.
Yeah. It's nice to be, having Pierre host a state meet for the first time. I think it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment because, usually when you go to state meet, it's all about the traveling and the send-off and all of that stuff. There's still going to be a send-off and everything, but it's definitely going to feel different. But hopefully being able to compete, in front of your home crowd and on your own equipment is going to be really nice because I know last year when they competed on their own equipment at ESD, they did really well.
Well, and here, we'll start to wrap things up a little bit. Obviously, that's as far away right now as you're not thinking about the state meet as it is. But, going into this first weekend, what's one of the big things that you want to see? I know I mentioned it, we talked a little bit about the Huron meet, but when you get to the end of this weekend, when you look back on it, what's the biggest thing that's going to stick out and say, this is where the Pierre Governors want to be after that first weekend? What do you want to, what's going to be that number one thing?
Just stick in those routines. The falls are going to happen. It's the beginning of the year, but if we can stick as many routines and have them as clean as possible, then that would be a good foot to start off on.
Well, Coach, hey, I appreciate the time. It's fun talking to you. It's fun to start talking about gymnastics and getting into the winter sports. I appreciate the time. Safe travels on Thursday. Good luck, and good luck this weekend at home as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
As Rebecca Feller of the Pierre Governor Gymnastics team will return more Coaches Corner after this here on KCCR and online at kccrradio.com.
This fall, take some time to think about your future while the leaves make their way down to earth and the last sunset of summer leaves us with an autumn chill. It's time to grab the nearest foam finger and break out the face paint. Rush the stands with First Dakota National Bank and forget how to blink. Fall sports are back with jaw-dropping plays, an electric atmosphere, and epic scores. Make some noise with First Dakota National Bank. Open a new account online today at firstdakotanationalbank.com. Member FDIC.
Look, it's no secret that owning a vehicle can cause a lot of stress, and they get a lot of wear and tear on them through every season. Graham Tire wants you to know that you can trust them with any problem that you have with your vehicle. They have fully trained ASE certified mechanics on staff, ready to handle it for you. From brakes and bearings to alignments and front ends. Let their experience work for you. Over 50 years combined means you can count on them. So if it's time for a transmission flush or even a simple oil change, the only name you need to know is Graham Tire, 421 West Sioux Avenue in Pierre.
You're listening to Coach's Corner on Central South Dakota's sports leader, KCCR.
You like that? You like that?
And we welcome you back inside the KCCR studios to wrap up another edition of Coach's Corner. We want to thank our coaches and Coach Steve Steele of the Hawaii Capitals, Coach Brandon Kusler of the Pierre boys basketball team, Coach Matt Thorson of the Pierre girls wrestling team, and Coach Rebecca Feller of the Pierre gymnastics team. Gymnastics is in action tomorrow night as they get their first competition, and it will be in Huron, and then they'll be at home on Saturday. The Governor girls wrestling team will be in Bismarck on Friday and Saturday in their tournament. The boys team will be in Mandan. The girls will be in Bismarck. The Hawaii Capitals boys team will be in Huron. Girls will be in Sioux Center for the weekend. Boys will play Saturday, and the girls will play Saturday, Sunday. And then the Pierre boys basketball team, as well as the Pierre girls basketball team, they will start their season next weekend with the girls at home and the boys are on the road. That will get the 2023-24 seasons up and underway. So again, thanks for joining us here for another edition of Coach's Corner here this evening. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, same place, 5:30 right here on KCCR. Have a good rest of your night.
You've been listening to Coach's Corner on KCCR and online at kccr.com. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Todd's Electric, Shane's Pharmacy, Lamb Motors, Avera, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Edward Jones Financial, Graham Tire, Kruger Contracting, CHS River Plains, Gales Gas, Bank West, and Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota. To hear the show again, head to YouTube at KCCR Sports for shows at any time. This has been a special presentation of Riverfront Broadcasting Sports, Central South Dakota's sports leader.